Hello, good morning, students. How are you? A quick time check. We have already reached September, and September has just ended. I hope your studies are going well, going fine. If not, please buck up, please gear up, because September has almost ended, and now you have October, November, and part of December with you for your examination. I know you are going to do well, and I know you are studying hard. So, a quick update on the notification, the clarification which the Institute has given yesterday, 24th of September 2018. The Institute has released a three-pager clarification on various subjects, which is very, very important to be read for the December 2018 examination. So, it is both for inter as well as final students. The date of this notification is 24th September 2018, and this notifications deals with a lot of subjects and lot of clarifications, including your Companies Act, your law, accounts, GST, Ind AS, etc., etc., etc. So what I am going to cover in this video today is the first 2 points of this notification, the update on company records and audit rules 2014, which are updated by 17 amendment rules, and I'm going to cover CAS 1 to CAS 24 limited revision of CAS. These two things I'm going to cover in this video. So if you are a final student or an inter student, for the inter students, this amendment will affect your paper number 12, which is company accounts and audit, and for final students this will affect your paper number 19, which is cost and management audit. So this is an important update for all the students. For the cost audit paper, please watch this video carefully. Okay, so let me first clarify one thing, that the institute has clearly given a mandate that the company's amendment rules 2017 will be applicable for the final examination, and the amendments till December 2017, the amendments which have come till 20th December 2017 will be applicable for this term, this December attempt, and this goes for inter as well. In inter, obviously rules carry a good marks, but the cost accounting standards are not discussed in great detail. So in inter, apart from the cost accounting standards, I guess the rules amendment is very, very important, and amendment till 20th December 2017 is relevant for the December 2018 examination. All right, so one clarification which I want to give before I continue with the update is that, guys, if you are referring to this book which has this star and which states that includes amendment rules 2017 relevant for December 2018 attempt onwards, if you are referring to this book, then this book contains all the relevant updates till December 2017. So you need not see anything else if you are referring to this book of mine, which is paper number 19 of final course syllabus 2016. This is the book which you must be referring to. If this is the book, then please close this video right now, because you have everything. I have incorporated everything in this book. So there's no need of update if you are referring to this book. However, if you are referring to any earlier versions of this book, earlier version would not have this star. It won't be referring to the amendment rules 2017. If you are referring to the old books, the older version of my books, and if you are an old student, then this update is very, very important for you. All right, so what have I done? For the people who are referring to the older version of the book, these I have jotted down all the amendments in two parts. There are two sections to this amendment. Now it says amendments in cost and management audit paper applicable for December 2018 exam onwards. I have bifurcated the amendments into two parts. Number one, amendment rules 2016-17 to the company's rules 2014, and part number two is revisions in cost accounting standards. So these are the two categories, the two subheads in which I have bifurcated the amendments into. Now please listen to this carefully, that the first part is applicable to inter as well as final students, but the second part is only and only applicable to final students. The second part is not applicable to inter students because in inter, cost accounting standards are not to be done in great length. They just you can just get an overview of the cost accounting standard, and that is sufficient. So the limited revision in cost accounting standard, this may not impact the inter students as much as it will impact the final students. So category 1 amendment, which is amendment to the rules 2016, is applicable for both inter and final students. But the amendment number 2, which is revision in cost accounting standards, is applicable only and only to the final students. Now let's start with the amendments. What are the amendments? First, I'll take up the amendments. The 4 amendments which are applicable to inter as well as final student. So the rules have inserted one new definition with respect to Indian accounting standards. Now, there are several places where the rules are now referring to the Indian accounting standards, and they are taking a lot of definitions, a lot of reference from the Indian accounting standards. So, the rules have inserted one more definition, which is the definition of Indian accounting standards, which are same as per the company's Indian accounting standards rule 2015. Change number 2. Rule number 4, which is applicability of cost audit. Now there are exclusions from applicability of cost audit. Earlier there were 2 exclusions from applicability of cost audit. Please remember, I am talking about the exclusions from cost audit and not the exclusions from cost records. There are 2 different things. Rule 3 deals with cost records, Rule 4 deals with cost audit. So I am referring to the exclusions from applicability of cost audit. Now earlier there were 2 exclusions from applicability of cost audit. One was 75% of total revenue earned in foreign exchange. Second was company operating from special economic zone. But now the rule has been amended to insert one more exclusion from the cost audit, and that exclusion is companies which are engaged in generation of electricity for captive consumption through captive generating plant. So if you are a company who is generating electricity, and in that electricity you are generating it for self-use, for captive consumption, then there is this amendment which is there in the law, which is applicable to you. The captively consumed electricity, which is generated by a captive generating plant, if you are generating electricity, then this exclusion will be applicable on you, and you will be out of the purview of cost audit. So this is one very important insertion which has been done by the ministry. Second amendment is that in Rule 6(1)(a), the rules which relates to cost auditor and appointment of cost auditor, in that rule there is insertion of a new element, which is the cost auditor must submit the following certificates to the company before its appointment. So now the cost auditor is required to submit some certificates. There are 4 certificates which it requires to submit to the company before its appointment. What are those certificates? Certificates are, number 1, that the company auditor is not disqualified for the appointment under Companies Act 2013. What is the section for disqualification? Section 141 of the Companies Act. So first certificate that the auditor has to give is that he is not disqualified from appointment as a cost auditor under the Companies Act. So now the bona fide or the responsibility is on the auditor to prove that he is not disqualified from undertaking this audit and give a certificate in this respect. So certificate will obviously contain the disqualifications which are given in section 141, and specifically they will also contain the disqualification which is given in 141(3)(g), which is the maximum number of companies which can be audited by a particular cost auditor. So both these declarations should be given by the cost auditor to the company that he is not disqualified to undertake this audit under the Companies Act 2013. And the next certificate which the auditor has to give, and of course the auditor can give a combined certificate for the first 3 points. It need not prepare separate certificates for the first 3 points, but for the 4th point he needs to give a certificate in which he needs to list down all the pending court proceeding against him. So there is a section which requires the cost auditor to pen down all the proceedings which are against him. There's a disqualification also, which says that if you are convicted by a court, then you are not allowed to do cost audit for next 10 years. So because of that restriction, the Companies Act now requires the auditors to give a certificate containing the list of court proceedings which are pending for him since before the appointment of the cost auditor. So this is rule 6.1, which has been newly inserted. This was not there earlier. Another rule has been inserted, rule 6.3b, which was not there earlier. This rule states that the cost statements including annexures to cost audit report shall be approved by the board of director, that is signed by any one of the director authorized by the board. So now, before the board of directors or the company provides the cost statements or the cost audit annexures to the cost audit report to the cost auditor, they have to get it signed by the board of directors. This is a mandatory requirement as per the law. Therefore, now whenever a cost auditor is getting something from the company, like cost statements, like annexures to cost audit report, whenever he is getting something from the company, it has to be signed by a director who's authorized by the board to sign on behalf of the board. So without signing, you should not take any reports or statements from the directors of the company. So these are the 4 amendments in the rules which are applicable for December 2018 examination, and these are for inter as well as final students. Now I come on to the limited revisions in cost accounting standards. Now these are critical, guys, because these are certain principle level amendments which have happened in cost accounting standards, and certain principles have been changed majorly due to the advent of Ind AS, Ind accounting standards. And because of the changes in Ind AS, there are certain changes in the cost accounting standards as well, because we need to align the cost accounting standards with the Ind accounting standards. So now I start the second part of the amendment, which is their revisions in cost accounting standards. First revision is in material cost, CAS number 6, the the material cost. Now, treatment of spares. If you remember that in the earlier CAS 6, the treatment was of spare was disclosed as spares which are specified to an item of equipment shall not be taken to inventory and must be amortized over the useful life of equipment. This is the old provision. Please see, I have bifurcated this table into 2 parts, old provision and new provision. So the old provision required you to take the spares as a part of the equipment and amortize them over the useful life instead of taking them into inventory. But the revision states that the items such as spare parts, standby equipment, servicing equipment are recognized as PPE. Do you recognize this term which is being used in Ind AS? Yes, sir. This term is used in Ind AS, property, plant, equipment, PPE. So now our cost accounting standard says that if you have any spares or standby equipments or servicing equipments which satisfies the condition of being recognized as a PPE, then they should be capitalized and not put into revenue. And depreciation should be put in those PPE spare parts or standby equipments. Otherwise means what? Otherwise means if the definition of PPE is not satisfied by those spare parts which you are buying. Otherwise, such items are classified as inventory and recognized in the cost as and when consumed. So now they have directly linked the spare parts treatment with the Ind accounting standards, and they say that if the spare parts qualify the definition of PPE, then they should be capitalized. If they do not qualify as PPE, then they should be amortized, or they should be put into inventory and recognized as a cost as and when consumed. So this is the first amendment which is there in material cost. Second amendment is that valuation of materials issued. So there is a section in your book which discloses the cash flow method basis of valuation of materials which are issued to the factory production line. Now that valuation, earlier the CAS gives you liberty to choose any one of the method, FIFO, LIFO or weighted average. Earlier CAS was stating that issue shall be valued using appropriate assumption on the cost flow, FIFO, LIFO or weighted average. However, this method option is being changed to align itself to the Ind AS to say that issues shall be valued using appropriate methods as per the provisions contained in the accounting standards applicable for time being in force, which means that you have to mandatory follow the accounting standards treatment which you are giving to your issue of material. The same technique should be used for disclosing the issue material in cost accounting standards as well. Okay, let's move on to the next update, which is on cost accounting standard 17, employee cost. Now, employee cost, very, very important cost. CAS, in exam also this carries a good weightage. So the first change is that principles of measurement has changed in employee cost. It was not there earlier. Now there is one additional element to the employee cost principles of measurement, which is in case of companies to which Indian accounting standards apply, any remeasurement of such cost recognized in other comprehensive income shall not form part of employee cost. So what does this standard tell you? This standard is linking again to the back to the Ind AS. There is an element of OCI. Now, sir, what is OCI? You must have read in your financial accounts that the revaluation which happens in the assets, those revaluation entries or the remeasurement of assets and liabilities entry is to be put not into the profit and loss account but to a separate account whose name is other comprehensive income. So to talk in layman terms, this other comprehensive income is nothing but a notional cost or a notional income which can be recognized in your books of accounts. So this cost accounting standard amendment states that if any notional cost or notional income is recognized as per the other comprehensive income schedule of the Ind AS, then that cost or that income should not form part of employee cost, obviously because it is notional cost and it is not the real cost. So this is the amendment in employee cost CAS number 7. Now let us come on to a very, very important amendment, guys. If you remember, CAS 12, repair and maintenance cost, that CAS had got a very typical treatment for high value spares. High value spares which are initially kept in the company as an additional insurance spare, and the old spare is replaced by a new spare and the old spare is reconditioned. So when there is a high value spare which is put out of a machine and it is reconditioned and the new spare is replaced in the machine but the old spare is still in your inventory, then what should you do with the high value spare, which is the old spare which has been reconditioned? So the old provision states that high value spare when replaced by a new spare is reconditioned, which is expected to result in future economic benefits. The same shall be taken into stock. The earlier mandate was to take this entire old spare into stock. Such a spare shall be valued at an amount that measures its service potential in relation to a new spare, which amount shall not exceed the cost of reconditioning the spare. The difference between total cost of new spare and reconditioning cost, the value of reconditioned spare, should be treated as repair and maintenance cost. So this was the old provision which was there, which you should have in your books as well. But now this treatment has been changed. What is the new treatment? The new treatment is high value spare when replaced by a new spare and is reconditioned shall be recognized as PPE when they meet the definition of PPE. Now they have introduced the concept of PPE while recognizing the high value spare also and depreciated accordingly. Otherwise, such items are classified as inventory and recognized in cost as and when they are consumed. Now they have again introduced the concept of PPE, which is there in the Ind AS to align their cost accounting standard with the Ind AS. Now, very interestingly, there is an example which is given to explain the treatment of high value spare in detail. And this example is given in the revision, in the revised cost accounting standard itself. So let us study what is the example. A company purchased equipment for 10 crores and insurance spare for 1 crore. So the company has a machine 10 crores and an additional spare which it is not using, which is actually kept as an insurance spare of rupees 1 crore, which means that 10 crore already includes 1 crore of old spare, and there is one more new spare which is kept as insurance spare for 1 crore rupees. If the company is covered under Ind AS, such spare is capitalized as PPE. After use of 5 years, the equipment broke down and a part was replaced with the aforesaid insurance spare. So after 5 years of use, this machinery broke down and the insurance spare was put into the machinery and the old spare was pulled out of the machinery. After 5 years, the depreciated value of equipment is 5 crores, as property plant equipment are depreciated when they are available for use. Accordingly, the depreciated value of new spare is 50 lakhs. So let us put these numbers into a table. So see, equipment cost 10 crores, cost of new spare, which is the insurance spare, 1 crores, total cost 11 crores, depreciation for 5 years 5.5 crores. Now remember one thing, equipment cost contains the old spare cost of 1 crore as well. Okay, sir. So depreciation for 5 years 5.5 crores, it has depreciated by 50%. So the WDV after 5 years is 5.5 lakhs, 5.5 crores of the entire equipment. Now if I bifurcate this into two parts, then 5 crore WDVs of the equipment and 0.5 crores, which is 50 lakhs, is the WDV of the old spare, which is now pulled out of the machinery and new spare has been put inside the machinery. But this old spare has not been thrown off. This has been reconditioned and reused in and has been put in the business for future benefit purposes. So now 50 lakh rupees is the WDV of the old spare. Reconditioning cost of the old spare has been reconditioned at the cost of 10 lakhs. Depreciated value of the old spare is 50 lakhs. So the book value of the reconditioned spare is 60 lakhs, which is 10 lakhs of reconditioning cost and 50 lakhs of WDV cost. So the total book value of the reconditioned spare is 60 lakhs. However, it is given in the question that current market value of reconditioned spare to be recognized in books of accounts, and this recognition is done on the basis of Ind AS, is 0.25. So in the balance sheet, you have to take only 0.25 as your old spare value. But sir, we have a debit of 60 lakhs in our balance sheet and P&L account. There's an expense of 10 lakhs. There's a WDV of 50 lakh. What should we do with this 60 lakh? So students, it's very, very clear. If 60 lakhs is the depreciated value plus reconditioning cost of the old spare, 25 lakh is the value which is recognized to be in the balance sheet, then the balance 35 lakh is to be taken into repair and maintenance cost. Only 25 lakh is to be taken into the balance sheet. So this is how total of 60 lakhs will get consumed in your financial statements or cost statements. So this is the revised treatment of high value spare which has been prescribed by the accounting revised limited revision to the cost accounting standards. Okay, next is depreciation and amortization. A very simple amendment has come into the case of depreciation. Earlier, the depreciation was to be started from the date the asset was put to use. But now this put to use has been changed to available for use, which is similar to ready for use. So earlier we used to compute our depreciation since the date when the asset was actually put to use. Now onwards we have to depreciate our fixed assets or the PPE on the basis of the principal whenever they are available for use, even if they are not put to use. Next, spares purchased specifically for a particular asset or class of assets and which would become redundant if that asset or class of asset was retired or use of that asset was discontinued shall form part of that asset. Now, the old CAS used to tell us that if there is any spare which is to be capitalized in your books of accounts, then even if it is an additional spare, which is an insurance spare, that cost should have been capitalized with the plant and equipment and should be amortized thereon. Now there's a slight change in this principle. The slight change is similar to the change which we had discussed in materials CAS, which now says that if your spare part fulfills the conditions given in PPE routine, PPE definition, only then your spare part should be capitalized. Otherwise, it should be taken to inventory and cost should be written off fully. So same as materials, we are aligning our spare part treatment according to the Ind AS. Last amendment which has come in the standards is the assignment of depreciation cost. The depreciation cost which is depreciation on the assets which if remain idle or temporarily retired from production of goods and services or remain idle shall be considered as abnormal cost for the period when the asset is not in use. So earlier we used to take the entire depreciation cost to the cost sheet even if there was an element of idle time depreciation cost which was included, but now that has to be taken to the abnormal cost. Next, the depreciation is charged for a period is usually recognized in cost of goods sold. So the recognition of depreciation is to be done as simplistically as we have to charge it to the cost sheet. However, where PPE are used for producing another asset, the related depreciation shall form part of cost of such asset. So we have to capitalize the depreciation which is incurred on assets which are used to produce other assets. We have to capitalize that depreciation. So this treatment was never there in CAS. Now it has been introduced in CAS, which is a very, very welcome change. And yes, these are pretty much the summary of the amendments which have come up in cost and management audit and for inter paper number 12 and paper number 8. Please do them well because there's a high possibility that some theory question or small question comes up in your examination from these amendments. And yeah, please take care. For final students, the students who have module which have this star on their module, they need not refer to any amendments. Their module is perfectly amended and it is up to date module if you are using this module which has been issued. Perfect. All the best for your examination. And this is CACS and CMA Nikhil Gupta signing off. Happy studying.